welcome them to come back to the MAC multiple times and to embrace us as your local community arts resource. And support us, because you need community support in order to exist. I have to get a little closer. Would you borrow it?
Yeah. Possible? Stand close. Stand close.
Don't stand too close to me. I think I got it. Yeah. Okay.
As long as you put it back.
Yeah, I will. Okay. All right. So at the MAC, Clovice will explain to you how this project was born. And it's called Sounds of Liberation. And Clovice and I met at a community gathering, which he'll tell you about. But I'm very honored to be working with Maestro Clovice Lewis. And Victor Hall has been my colleague for quite a few years as an educator here at the MAC, a youth educator and adult educator as well. It's really my honor to have both of them here and also to have you here as well to enjoy this. Also, all of the people on Zoom, please stay muted at all times. Make sure that your view is in speaker mode. And there'll be an opportunity for questions. There's a woman in the Zoom room named Sabrina Klein, and she is your Zoom host for the evening. I want to read the land acknowledgement, which we read at the beginning of all of our events. The MAC acknowledgement acknowledges that we operate on the occupied lands of the people that European settlers call Pomo, Wapo, and Lake Miwok, who have been here since time immemorial. We stand in solidarity with the indigenous peoples of Lake County who are the past, present, and future stewards of this land. And I'm going to add that I understand also that the work that we do is only the very beginning of work that needs to be done. And I also want to add that this country was built on the backs of Black and brown people, and I want to acknowledge them as well here tonight in particular. Thank you for your time. I'm going to pass this to Clovice, and we're so grateful to have you with us.
Thank you. I am reminded of a little while ago I went to, I don't know, let's see if I can put this on correctly. Can you hear me? A while ago I went went on a flight, and I had one of those little pocket tools with me, and the TSA guy took my pocket tool because he said, that's sharp, can't have that. And I took my cello with me. He took my little one inch knife, and he let me go on the plane with all these metal strings and this big old pointed steel piece. I don't feel any sense. Anyway, we are here today because in 2019 I wrote a musical called Harlem Voices. And at the time I was at the Starr King School for the Ministry, getting a master's degree in divinity. And one of my professors said, why don't you do a independent study on music and the music of Africa? And I said, what an interesting idea. So I started this really intense study and came to a conclusion that most of the music of Africa is music of liberation. It certainly is in the United States. Our history is replete with examples of how African American people were talking about, dreaming about, singing about, and playing music that had in some way or another resonated with this idea of liberation for very obvious reasons. So I started thinking and came to the realization that as a composer, much of my music was about my life as an African American man in some way or another. It was a way of expressing my reality. So that led me to another question, which was, am I alone? How many other people feel the same way? I spent my life playing as a classical cellist, and most times I was the only black guy in the auditorium. You know, it's like maybe I'd see a janitor here and there, but there was nobody else on stage. When I was 16 years old, I was in Biloxi, Mississippi, and I integrated that orchestra. I went there and I played Bach. And James Shannon, the conductor, let me into the orchestra. And I can remember walking past the trumpet section and somebody saying, I didn't know we were going to let them in. Music is about liberation. And I came to the realization that in my own life, it had a profound effect. And I started wondering, what is the effect of racism for other African Americans? Not only the people who, like me, have mastered in some way, quote, classical music, white music. What is the experience? What is it that brings us to this table? What do we bring? And so I am deeply, deeply honored. When I started this series, Sounds of Liberation, it was all about talking to other Black people, other African American musicians. What is your experience? What is it that informs you? How does this work for you? Are you like me? Are we cut from the same thread? Does that make sense? All right, yeah. Threads, cut from the same cloth, okay? So anyway, this is the third of our Sounds of Liberation interviews where I will be talking and we'll be doing music. And I am deeply honored to welcome my brother, Victor Hall, who
the other one
is the other one in the orchestras. Victor is a percussionist, and I say that with all respect. He's one of the best percussionists I've ever met, a master of all of the percussion instruments, and he's sitting in the back, standing in the back of orchestras that I'm playing in front of, and it's most times just you and me.
The other one.
And it is such a delight to look across the orchestra and see Victor. So we've been playing together for many, many years, and this is the first time we've had a chance to really get to know each other over the period of the last year or so. So you have here, I'm gonna say some words.
Yes, indeed.
Okay, I'm gonna say some words. I wrote them down so I wouldn't forget them. All right, so one thing I want to be explicit about is this is going to be like a conversation. This is going to be like a conversation. We're going to be talking. Don't want to put you on the spot or anything like that, but nothing is going to come from you that's not from your own experience. And so here we are. I might insert a question or some comment that people in the audience might want to talk about. And later on, we'll get that chance to do that, but don't talk about anything that you're not comfortable with. Okay.
I'm coming open.
Okay. All right. Good. So, so I understand you have something of welcome for us.
Oh yes. This is new to me, but I'm glad to be here. I'm glad to see all of you. I'm glad to share. This right now this is my season. I'm doing many things, especially within Lake County. I'm working on a music village up there on Cobb Mountain, and it's a place for retreat, to come hear music and just all kinds of things. And I want to start this with a call and response. I've kind of lost my voice. I've been having a lot of fun the last couple of days. Went to this full moon drum circle Wednesday which a bunch of my friends, I have a lot of friends that are from all over the world, some from Africa, France, Italy, and all that. And that just all happened in the past year and a half. And it's just a blessing to me to see all that culture, you know. So I was up there acting a fool, yelling, screaming, nah. But anyway, what we're gonna do, this is a Liberian from Africa. This is a call and response. It's called Funga, and Funga is a welcoming, it's welcoming you to the ceremony. And so I'm just gonna say it verbally first before I start with the drums. I go, Funga la fea, ashe, ashe, and you repeat back. Funga la fea, ashe, ashe. Again, Funga la fea, ashe, ashe. Funga la fea, ashe, ashe. Ashe, 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 ashe. Ashe, 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 ashe. Ashe, 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 ashe. Funga la fea, ashe, ashe. Ashe, ashe.
Percussionist. You ready?
Yes.
Okay. So, first question. How do you identify racially, ethnically, or culturally?
Well, I'm one of 12 siblings. So I raised in Santa Rosa, California. And I was born in 1960, so I had all the 60s to go through. So my family, being a tribe, so, and my father was a pastor. So we, even though there are not that many Black people in Santa Rosa, we all came together on Sunday. So as a racially Black American, and very diverse in a culture that was Black Pentecostal. When I say Black Pentecostal, it's different than white Pentecostal, because when I came to Kelseyville, I saw what white Pentecostal was like, and it was so different. I remember going to church with one of my white friends as a youth, and it was more like a meeting. But at my church, it was like celebration all the time. I don't know if you guys understand about shouting. I won't say speaking in tongues, because I went to the white Pentecost, they spoke in tongues, but it was different, And Black Pentecostal is like, the music was like, right? And shouting and carrying on, and just, and you can don't look at the clock on the wall. It has nothing to do with it. Okay? I slept on many a pew as a youth. So that was, even though I was in a sea of white outside of my close family and the other Black families that were there, I was really engulfed in all that.
That's really interesting, because I grew up as a Catholic, and I did not realize that there were Black Catholic churches and white Catholic churches. I was an Air Force brat. So in the Air Force, we all went to the same church. And then when we were off base, my family was out of step. We would often go to the white Catholic churches, and we were not welcome. But I was going to ask you a little later on about religion, but I am curious about the role of religion. Can I tell a little story about you?
Sure.
Okay. Last Sunday, Victor and I were playing at a predominantly Black church around here. And we were playing Amazing Grace. And I looked across to you, and you were doing some stuff on the keyboard I'd never seen before. And the expression of religion was so deep in you. Has it always been that way for you? Is it because your father was a pastor? What was your own experience with music as liberation? Personal.
Okay. As I'm considered, called a PK. Anybody heard that phrase before? Pastor's kid, preacher's kid. Well, as a growing up in the church, most of that was more like just a kid running around, a spectator, right? And I didn't come into my knowing God. But at that time, I was just going through the motions. And as I grew up and became and knowing of God, but finding myself in situations where I needed personal intervention myself, and I began to seek God on a one-to-one personal level. That was a huge difference. Okay, other than just growing up as a PK. But I think everybody has in their deep cellular memory, right right before that bus hits, they go, "Oh God, oh my God," right before the smash, right? And everybody gets a little, "Oh, okay, yeah." Well, it was kind of one of those memories. It wasn't a bus, but it was something tragic for me. Then I said, well, I do know there's another way. And that's when, at that point in my life, that's when I really made a spiritual connection. And from then on, it wasn't, you have to go to a place where other people are meeting, or it was more of a one-on-one at that point.
Growing up as you did, in Santa Rosa, I think there were some similarities in the way that we grew up, you and I. As a military brat, I was in a white world all the time. For us, it wasn't so much about race as rank. And in the military, I literally grew up in the 1960s and 70s in an integrated bubble. What was that like for you?
It's interesting. Like I was saying, came from a really large family, but once you step out that bubble, I found myself totally in a white world. As I remember being in elementary, I was in kindergarten. I don't think I was the only only black person in that whole school, which was white, other than a few of my family members that are in different grades. And I remember having to fight all the time. You know, it wasn't like, you know, I wasn't able to run. I was taught not to run, just to face my stuff. So, you know, it just seemed like, you know, after a while, it was like everybody, I went through everybody, all the boys, we already did our thing, and we were able to come to an agreement that let's just not do this today, you know. But
What were the fights about?
oh, they just want to pick on me,
Just pick.
because I was different, right? And after we realized after the fighting was done, let's go play ball or let's go do whatever. So that we realized we have some differences. You know, I look different, you look different, but we can still do everything else the same. So that was just as a very young youth. And as you get older, it was different. I had some situations to where it was like, I remember being, turn this thing off. I remember being ninth grade. I remember being in ninth grade, just did a concert, and, you know, at junior high school. I mean, we had a uniform, and we had white pants and green stripes down the side. And we went to a pizza parlor afterwards. And at the pizza parlor, kind of like you were in the symphony when the guys, I didn't know they allowed people. It was a little deeper than that. It was like, okay, this is the first time I dropped the N-bomb. It's gonna be several times. I didn't know they allowed niggers in here. This man was grown, beard, and had on leathers.
Like a biker?
Like a biker. And I'm 14 years old, 119 pounds, and this guy's a grown man. And one of my friends came up and said, hey, leave my friend alone. He pushed him. And then he touched me, and I kind of went blank, didn't know where I was, what happened, what was going on. Night finally came into my mind. He was laying on the ground, and I had a pizza bench, you know, on those picnic bench types that they had there. And on top of my finger was cut, and he was saying, get this crazy nigger off of me. And police were called, and I was thrown out of the pizza parlor. And I just remember you know, did not know. I wish I had seen the video because I didn't know what had happened. And by the time I just got done shaking, I was crying. I was just a kid, 14, you know, I'm not grown. And I called my mom to come pick me up. This is 1974. So that was a very disturbing thing for me. I remember like it was yesterday.
Yeah? Yeah. I remember I was 22 years old, and I thought I was done with all that. Somebody came and I was in a restaurant, somebody came and grabbed my hair and pulled me back. I was with two young white women, friends of mine, and he said, how are you doing? You like being with these white girls? And I remember I left. Like you, something just came over me. And the way I describe it is that something came out of me and it took that man to oblivion. And I'd not seen that thing or him since. But being triggered like that,
Yeah.
do you walk around with that?
No. No.
What did you do? How did you get past that?
Okay. Here we go again. I remember being about 19 years old, and I was working at this place in a restaurant. We actually built the restaurant. It was called Sourdough Rebo's. Now it's Chevy's now. And there was this beautiful girl I really liked. And she invited me over. So, and I was by the Santa Rosa Junior College. And by the Santa Rosa Junior College was this, like a little 7-Eleven called Merv Super at that time. Man, taking me there, huh? And this guy, he must have been drunk. He was drunk. And he called me the N-word. And by that time, I'm much bigger, a little stronger and all that. And I went and fought him, boom, 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 beat him down, right? And he was drunk, and I'm like, you know, and he gets up, he goes, well, you're still a nigger. So down again, blah, 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 blah. I said, okay. So I wasn't too far from her house by then. I was walking, and I get close, and she comes out and she goes, my mom and I saw you. And so she stopped me from coming all the way, and it was like, oh my God. And I must have looked really, really bad, right? And I had to really think about that. I was like, just, man, was that worth it, or what the heck was that? And something very similar happened a few years down after that. And the hair raised on the back of my neck, and then I looked at him, and I started laughing. I said, oh no, I'm not doing this again. I'm not doing this again.
I call that the spidey sense.
Yeah. and he was looking at me like I'm crazy because I'm laughing, right? And I mean, he's supposed to have pushed that button, right? But I removed that button because it didn't serve me. And so that's how I got around that. Because I could have had, you know, probably had I known back then what that was taught at that time, maybe I would have had a better response and just let somebody push that trigger and push those buttons, because he didn't touch me. I mean, he just said those were just words.
When I was 12 years old, I had my first encounter with a Southern sheriff. And he chased me and my cousins, and he said that he was going to send us back across the railroad tracks where we belong. And he pushed us in a cruiser, and he had his hand on the gun, on his pistol. He gave us 10 seconds to get across the tracks. It was traumatic, to say the least. But then I went home, and I'd never seen my father and my parents so upset, because my cousins had gone home earlier and told them what happened. And that was when I had the talk. My father said, whenever anything happens like this, and it's going to happen to you, count to 10. Always count to 10. Did your father or your parents have a talk with you? You know, we call that the talk. What was that like for you? Did you ever get it?
Not like that. It was whenever a situation came up, it was very brief. And it was like, no, just need to just go away, just move away. Never got the actual talk.
But the modeling was there?
The modeling was there.
Move away, don't engage.
Yeah, just let it go, come home.
In your family, did people talk about race, talk about being different in the community? What were the messages that you got?
Well, my family was very protective. Like I said, I was the 11th of 12 siblings. My talk was, anybody mess with you, you go home and get someone bigger.
You had a lot of choices, right?
So when I had nephews and nieces, I was in that line bigger. So they would run to me. But after a while, they realized you don't mess with the halls, because there's way too many of them.
Well, I know you went to the military.
23 years, yes.
23 years.
23 years.
So did you retire from the Army?
Yes, I did.
Okay. And what were you doing in the Army?
Music for the most part.
What was that? What was that like? Did you find hindrances there?
Well, let me tell you. I'm a Santa Rosa boy, and it wasn't too bad here, as I realized on the scale. Yeah. I remember it was in February. It was like a February like this February, right? You walk around in t-shirts, right? And Oakland is where we, a de-embarkation, as you want to call it. And I got in the plane and landed in New Jersey. Mind you, it was 67 degrees here. And I was in t-shirts and got to New Jersey, and the hawk was just so, this cold was just like needles in my skin. And I had no idea. I never even left Northern California before in my life. And they came in the drill sergeants came in on the plane, and it says, "Aha, Californians." And nothing come from California except steers and queers. I don't see any horns on you. Yeah. And push, right? Now, that was like a military thing, right? It wasn't really, everybody pretty much got that, and everybody got shaved and put in uniform. Now, that was just all basic training. Basic training was everybody was just ran through the mill. But after that was advanced training. And I went to the School of Music there. And we had weekends off, and our rooms were like dorms. Then I realized I was in the South. That was in Virginia. Little Creek, Virginia, between Norfolk and Virginia Beach. And the sad thing about it was I was on a military base. It was a naval amphibious base. And we just got done with our training. And we're just walking back to our dorms. I just happened to be walking next to a white girl. I think she was a clarinet player.
What year is this?
This is 82.
Okay.
82. And I thought we were all GIs, right? We were all, but I hear from up top there, "Nigger lover." And we were just walking back to our area. Maybe, I don't even know if we had much conversation. I'm like, oh my goodness, where am I at? And then, and come weekend, there were bars with full rebels. The door was painted a rebel sign.
Oh, yeah.
And I was like, okay. Talking about the writing on the wall. I was like, and they said, "Oh, don't go there." I said, you better believe it. I'm not going there. So As a California boy, I never witnessed that before, where there is just straight up segregation as blatant as that. But it's so like in the South, it's much clearer and more just let you know, the lines. Here in California, it's more, not so blatant. It's just, people give you the looks.
But do you find that it's also not clear?
And over here?
Yeah.
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 I know it's clear.
In some ways, I preferred the South. Because in the South, if somebody doesn't like you because you're black, they're real clear about it. You know it. You absolutely know it. You don't have any question about that. Here, and in other places I've lived, it's not clear. You can't really tell.
True. I've had many, as a youth, my friends, playing baseball on the same team or whatever. I said, "Oh, come on over." And parents' reaction was like, daggers, and like saying, looking at the boy, looking at me, as if they, slightly saying, "Don't you know he's black?" But the youth, they don't see that as much.
Yeah.
It is I see a big change as a big change. I was teaching here in Lake County. Connect Education Center is a school right there by Walmart. I was teaching music, and I'm looking out the door, and these guys are playing basketball. Most of them are white, and one white guy said to the other white guy, "I'm open, my nigga, I'm open, my nigga." And it was like, and I'm going, that is a definitely different way of feeling about how he feels about
I'm
that
open.
word. I'm open, my nigga. So what a change.
Yeah.
So it became a term of endearment for some people. Like later on, I reflected that in this piece I wrote, and it was actually a song, but I was doing like a poem, and it kind of speaks about that.
I think you should do that, like now.
What?
Not wait. Not wait, you should do that right now.
Okay.
Right now.
Good segue.
Yeah.
Good segue?
Yeah.
Okay. Rise up and listen. It's your decision. God has provision. Make joy a realism. Starting with the basics. Come on, let's embrace it. Peace, love, and dignity. You don't have to chase it. Joy, true joy, real joy. A joy that won't ever change. Joy, true joy. A joy that always remains. Calamity, standing right in front of me, full of hypocrisy, telling me I need to be chasing a dream to make my life seem to be a better me, drive nice cars, buy silky satin sheets. But joy, true joy, real joy, joy that won't ever change, joy, true joy, joy that always remains. All down through history, it is not a mystery. God provides a remedy, blessing for you and me. But greed can demoralize with propaganda and straight up lies, change the name to defame, but remember this, before it was marijuana, it was cannabis. Oh no, I got you tripping, but just relax and listen. This message is not pro-cannabis, it's all about pro-truth. Columbus didn't discover America, he discovered people to manipulate and use. However, if we look deep within, where man cannot touch, find joy with the Most High, because we're all brothers and sisters. Some words can demoralize, evoke anger and fear, make a negative connotation stating unworthy and impure. But we had a way of taking it back and changing it entirely. Bad becomes good, I'm down, means you can count on me. We can be bigger and remove the trigger and say with pride, I love my nigga. But when some hear words like that, you immediately deploy. But that's the point I'm trying to make. Don't let it steal your joy.
I love that. I love that. And I was thinking as you were saying that about controversies now that are going on. You know, we're in Black History Month, and there are people out there who are saying, well, you can opt out of studying. Carol, my wife, and I were talking about that just today, about how there is this move to make people feel more comfortable about history, okay? And pretend that we live in a colorblind society instead of really looking at the history of how we got here. And I wonder for you if you feel the way that I do many times, that I feel vulnerable sometimes talking about race, talking about my experiences. Because then in some way, I've discovered in the past that by doing that, I become complicit in my own oppression by not talking.
Right?
I want to make people feel comfortable because then they don't see that I'm different. What do you think about that?
Well, I totally understand. In this day and age, I've been through so much is that I can't fake the funk anymore. Cannot do it.
My job is not to make you feel comfortable.
Yeah. No. I kind of work, but you know, it's more of, my thing is a personal, as I need integrity for myself. And I need to be good, not for other person, it's for my walk. Right, it's for my walk. And if that comes first. So I'm gonna be myself. Myself needs to be good. It needs to have some righteousness to it. And if they can, it's like going to a place where I know everybody, even I don't care if they're black or white or indifferent, you know, if someone can speak to me with all kinds of words, that's like curse words, whatever, and I'll reply, but I don't like to do that, because that's my integrity. Okay, I don't like to say words that people consider to be curse words, whatever. And that has nothing to do, and I know people who curse and are beautiful, wonderful people, but that's just me. That's where I was brought up. So I don't change for anybody. I change for myself. I change for my walk. And that's what's most important for me. Yeah.
1968, I was in 8th grade, and I was an Uncle Tom. As the kids called me an Uncle Tom, because I was too white to be black and too black to be white. And that was really important at that time.
Oh, yeah. Oh, did you do the paper bag test?
Oh, you know about that? No, really?
The paper bag test?
Tell them.
Oh, well, you know what color a paper bag is, right? And you put that to your skin. If you are darker than a paper bag, then you're one of the darker black people. But if you're the paper bag and lighter, then you're of the other class of black people.
Surprises people to know that black people are prejudiced against each other. And that color of skin, complexion of skin, hair,
Oh,
all
my
that?
goodness.
What was
Yes,
that like
indeed.
for you when you were growing up in your family?
Well, we have all kinds of different shades. My mom was light skinned. My mom was like your color. My dad was like me, but even darker. And you get people like they want to have the straight hair. The black girls. They want the black girls, the light skin and the straight hair. And it was like a season. I remember hearing it was like a season. Well, like then there was a time where the dark guys were in season, and all the girls like the dark guys. Then there was the time they all want the one that looked like they were half Hispanic or whatever. To me, it was just kind of like what was the flavor of the year or something,
Yeah. Well, I want to ask you a little more about the role of music in your life. I mean, how did that work for you? Was it a means of expression? Did you think of it as a way of expressing some racial issues? What was
music, I couldn't get enough of it. I remember I was in a school band from 4th grade, elementary, junior high, college, and in the military. But it put me, being in love with music will put you in some different situations, let me tell you. Because I've been the only black person in a symphony so many times.
I know. It's like,
And I remember in Santa Rosa, my cousins from San Francisco, they were the thugs, they were, the black, from the ghetto and all that. And they kind of like, we were just country bumpkins. And I remember one time, because I'd get in trouble when I was a kid and all of that, but I always stayed in music because that was my go-to. And I always would teach my sister because my cousins came down in a stolen gremlin. Anybody remember gremlins?
they were brave.
They came down in a stolen gremlin, and they all wanted to jump in and take a ride. But I had to walk to the junior high school and go to junior symphony rehearsal. I said, no, I can't go. I mean, it trumped everything. So I couldn't even. Sometimes everybody just want to be, hanging out and do whatever and act like little thugs. I was like, I gotta go. Gotta go. So in a way, it was. It took me out of a lot of mess. My music took me out of a lot of mess, and I couldn't be in two places at one time, and I chose music. So I'm a lot. I mean, when I was in junior high, we practiced like 3 to 5 times a week. That's the rock band, And my white friends thought it was funny to name the band after my hair at that time. It was called Steel Wool. But they love me.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then we played a lot. It was good, and we did mostly rock and roll bands, Deep Purple, CCR, Creedence Clearwater, and all that kind of stuff. So I was playing a lot of white music.
I was gonna say, you were okay playing white music?
Oh my goodness, I was any music. But but growing up, the group that just I went to sleep to was Santana. Oh my God, that was my go-to. The rhythms that came out of that band still does. The Braxton album, it was. I put it on, go to bed. Yeah. So what you want to call that music? I don't know if you want to call it black music. I don't know if you want to call it white music. It's funny when people say play that Latin music, but what they're saying is playing that Afro influx of music, because Carlos would tell you he got those rhythms playing down at the wharf.
Yeah.
Exactly. And they just had them drum circles. He infused all that drumming in there, and it just gripped me. It was just so. Even though I was playing in bands like that, and in church, the drumming was just fantastic, and the rhythms and all that. So it kind of reminded me a little bit of that, but even better because the deep African rooted music. And as a kid, you know, my older sisters and brothers, they had to watch me because they're like, you know, that's your job now. I brought you up, you bring him up. But at the Sonoma State, they had this Olatunji. Olatunji was this African guy of Nigeria, and he taught African drumming and dancing. And I was a little kid, I was like, just, wow, this is so cool. Then, then I just started becoming one of the drummers at a very young age. Then my family started their own African drumming dance troupe called Oduduwa. Well, my nephews and my brothers and I would play drums, and my sisters would do the African dancing.
I'm sorry to interrupt you, but it sounds like quite a pivot, actually. Did you take on this sort of persona of African, did you want to know where you came from? Did you become really interested in African things? Did you sort of incorporate the Afrocentric?
Oh yeah, the dashiki and the hair cutter?
Yeah, oh yeah. Yeah, I still have a dashiki.
Yeah, dashiki.
Well, I don't have the hair. Yeah.
That's why I say I love that shirt. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I kind of wore a lot of different things. I was internationally excited about different things. Whereas as I got to see so many different things, I love to see that. Like I was saying earlier, I was at a drum circle Wednesday night, and sometimes you hear people speaking Spanish, Italian, French. A lot of West Africans speak French, and I was just like enthralled at all that culture around me, and I was just immersed, and I was just like, oh yeah, you know. I love it when all different type of people come together for a common awesomeness,
especially around music.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Even this is how I fell in love with classical music. If anyone knows ever seen watch a symphony, especially when they got strings. Sometimes you get the brass and woodwinds, all that, and when you especially got the strings, percussionists, they count a lot. They don't play much. They count a lot.
Yeah.
So during all that counting, I'm listening. And all of a sudden, I'm starting to hum and see all this music, and it's just beautiful. Just listening to the band. Sometimes I'm going to come out from behind and go out in front so I can hear it from up there. And it's just like, I think some of it just has a lot of soul. I like Tchaikovsky. I mean, he has a groove.
Yeah.
I mean, Beethoven has that, but Tchaikovsky, 1812 Overture.
Yeah.
Oh, come on.
He was a vegetarian.
He was a vegetarian. Oh, well, I changed my mind then.
Yeah. He's a vegetarian.
Yeah.
He like meat.
Yeah.
I just talking about music, I just wanted to know, you write your own music, right?
Most definitely.
Do you consider yourself more of a performer or a composer? And what is the role of composition in your life?
Mostly, I definitely would say composer. I'm a composer. I'm in a 10-piece band called Midnight Sun. And my job is to make it groove. I mean, is to put some rhythm, make sure the rhythm is hot, a hot rhythm. And I like to be able to, I don't want to be as a performer, but I want to make bodies move. You know, I want to, even when it's jazz, I want it to be dun you know. I want to see that wiggle, you know. And I really don't want to be too cerebral about the music, unless, you know, I'm just sitting and people are talking and there's a sit down thing, then I'll get more, you know, start doing, I don't know how to say in layman terms, just go get, my friends call it holy modal.
Holy modal?
Holy modal.
Holy modal, I love
I
that.
mean, because, you know, there's that, you know, that don't, but then there's that,
yeah.
you know, and then, you know, if we're at a cafe, people are sitting down, they're not dancing, there's no dance floor, you know, then they say, get a holy modal on them. Yeah. But other than that, you know, it's all about making people move their rumps, you know.
I know you like to improvise.
Oh, yeah.
But when you came in, the audience came in, we were improvising all of that. But before, we were having so much fun that I don't know about you, but I was kind of feeling like, well, we should just tell people not to come here because we were having so much fun.
I know, I was like, we're done.
Yeah, it's like, you know,
now.
we're gonna do this tonight. It was really, really fun. So I want. Oh, thank you. I want to get to some music too, because do you have something that you composed, something of yours? Or we could just do a
Yeah,
a
well, I was doing
blues
one
thing or
earlier. It's like
So, the composer in me is hearing the spiritual, the influence. The bass line is really interesting. How you're using the boom, 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 half steps, moving up, right?
passing tones.
Passing tones, yeah. I mean, that's really beautiful. And what did you pivoted off the second part pivoted? Were you what key were you originally in?
C major.
And then you went to
A minor.
A minor?
Yes, the relative minor.
That was sweet. I loved that. Yeah. And I was in the middle of it. I was thinking, is this going to be something he's going to sing, or should I bring my cello in on this? Yeah.
Well, actually, that is the music to the joy that,
Oh, that's?
that's the part of the music, yeah. To when I spoke. I didn't want to do it together because I really wanted that to be by itself.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
So when you compose, do you write for other instruments?
Yes, most definitely.
Okay, so I've been with people who compose and they arrange on your body. You know, it's like you do this, you do that. Do you write it down? Are you more sort of interactive with
I
it?
write it down
Mhm.
because I want them to be, because I don't really like people to improvise too much on my compositions.
Yeah, I hear you. I'm
Read
totally with you.
What's on the paper?
Yeah, right. And read it, damn it. I wrote it. You should read it and play it. Yeah, yeah. So, when did you discover that you were composing?
Oh, high school. Like we played some songs like here's one goes like, if I can remember. It goes longer than that, but it's I did that one in high school and went to this a competition type of thing.
Yeah.
You know, got like it was cool. I got third place guy who took a Dixieland and wrote it out for a big band, and it's like that. But it was fun.
So when did you move to percussion? I mean, it's not that you play, or do you consider the piano a percussion instrument too?
The piano was a definite because it's
Yeah.
right. It's
Right,
definitely.
right.
Yeah.
But then broaden the palette to percussion. Have you always been attracted to percussion?
Always.
Uh-huh.
When I was like 6 years old, 5, probably younger, I can't even, maybe 4, 5, 6. Like I said, I was in a Pentecostal church, and music was just like, that's what made you move. Had people shouting. Anybody know what shouting is? They don't know. It's a dance. It's a Holy Ghost dance. Okay. It made people move and shout. I had my little tom tom. It was like a Indian tom tom. It was like this, and I just, and then I finally, got to as the other. It was like a progression. You start on drums, then you move to keyboard. That's how it was a rite of passage. And I know that not only in black church, but also in like in Latin bands. Not talking about like Mexican bands. I'm talking about like Cuban, Puerto Rico, like that. I don't care if you play trumpet, keyboard, guitar, whatever, you're a percussionist first. Because it's all about that rhythm. So that's how it progressed.
You want to play some music?
Yeah.
You want to play with me?
Yeah, I'll play with you. I'm going to turn you down a little bit so I can hear the cello. So, you want to do like oh, you do. Yeah, that was good. That's the kind of fun we were having earlier. So let's see. Where do you want to go next?
What was this again?
That was fun. That was good. Good. All right.
Something like that.
I don't know, play. We just, I have so much fun with this. You want to just improvise something? Something atmospheric?
Atmospheric, okay. So that's a 2-5-1 type stuff.
Yeah. Oh, that's tasty. Oh my God, you are all over the place, dude. You stumped me. Do we have some questions?
I'm going to start it.
Oh, okay.
So,
Comments,
Victor,
questions?
Victor, I know you were in the
Do we have
military.
a microphone?
I
Can you
can,
pick it up?
I will
Okay,
project my
yeah,
voice.
please talk, and
She's
I'll,
fine, and I'll come and stand
I
next
will,
to you.
and I might repeat what you say.
Victor,
Yes.
I know you were in the military.
I know you're in the military.
Hey, can you do sign language? Can you do sign language?
Go, go, go.
I know you were in the military. What can you tell us about your, I know you were doing music in the military, but what can you tell us about your experience there? And that's kind of like, let's just say the military is sort of a place where there may be a melting pot of peoples. So what was that like for you?
Well, it was actually a good experience for the most part, because military, in order to progress, you know, they had like a point system. It's kind of like the good old boy system so much as a civilian. That's one of the things I like, I'm not going out there. You like, how much schooling did you have? How many points did you make? How fast did you do your 2-mile run? How well did you shoot? And you go ticka 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 ticka, and then says, okay, you're available for promotion, but your slot is full right now. So I get a lot of, that was one thing I liked about the military, and it was definitely by merit, not so much, you know, color your skin, nepotism, a good old boy type of stuff. Because you gotta understand, you got that guy next to you, no matter what color he is, he's in that foxhole with you, or he's protecting you. You have to protect him as well. He has to protect you when it comes to like a combat situation. So even in the offices, you have to act as if, you know, it could be a combat situation any time.
I want to ask about this. We all hear about white supremacists in the military, racism in the military. What do you think of that? Do you think that it's something that is real? Is it a danger? Did you experience any of that?
Didn't experience that, because it really, you know, it's undercurrent, taboo, because how in the world are you going to have a unit?
So it's about combat cohesion.
Yeah. But now, that being said, I have heard, like in some special units, these special units, that there was some of that, but those are like, units are like, kind of like a special forces kind of thing, where you,
Like elite units?
elite kind of units like that. No, I wasn't part of that. I was like in the band.
Does anyone else have a question? Yes.
Question for you, Clovis. Earlier you said you felt like you kind of grew up in an integrational bubble. I'm not understanding what that is.
Oh, the question is, for me, what did it mean when I said that I grew up in an integrated bubble? I was born in 1956. The Air Force was a pretty new organization, military organization. It wasn't formed until 1949. So I was literally in the first generation of Air Force brats. And like what Victor just described, it was more of a meritocracy. I mean, in the way that the military and the Air Force during that time was literally anti-racist. It wasn't just for the sake of like integrating. It was really something that everybody, black, white, you name it, everyone was treated equally. And in fact, it was the quote integrated society that was not off base. And when we were on base, we lived that in a completely integrated bubble. That's what I mean by that. So you go off base and then you are in Jim Crow South. Wow. And you can't, I mean, my parents, for example, we would drive from one place to another for assignments, and my parents would get stopped because my mother is very fair. She looks like she's Hawaiian, and they'd be driving someplace, and police would stop them because my mother was not supposed to be on the same seat with my father. Yeah.
Okay, wow. First of all, and then second of all, and if you all have questions, take off your mask for a second while you question me, because it makes it easier to understand. But, so my question is, so you were in a bubble on the base, and what do you think has changed in terms of contemporary life in the military today? Have they maintained that sense of equity and inclusion, or has it changed as far as you perceive?
What I can tell.
From the outside.
What do you think?
Well, to function, I mean, they got to get past that. They had to get past that because, just say, just say, like, for this instance, you have a very racist person in your unit, and then you go to war, and that person needs backup. You're like, not that guy. Yeah, he's on his own, not the way he treats people. So you have to have a cohesion. I mean, because there is a common enemy and it's not each other. So that's the way you have to think. You have to protect each other.
And I think for the most part, the military is a very good example of what I said, anti-racist. It's not just, we're going to make everybody feel good. They have a reason for doing that. Yeah.
It's strange that we in our government, forces, that they didn't, like, they can advertise different things on television. Why didn't they advertise unity and unity for all people in America? And this gets us, advances us. I mean, they could have so easily done something like
that. The statement is that the military could have easily, at some point, really talk about this sort of alternative view of America.
Right,
that they have.
They witness and this is how it is there.
Witness
and
that.
They see it so different out here, and they feel it is different. It seems like they could have stepped in to help.
Well, they did.
The full America.
I mean, the fact is that when you go to a place where there is a military presence, the government speaks with money. They integrated schools around wherever they were. If you wanted to be a vendor on base, you had to make sure that you acted a certain way. They would give contracts to companies and so on. So the government really did do a lot in within the.
I'm hearing you now, and
right.
I understand what you're saying. Right, they did it with money instead of.
But they kind of stopped
Okay,
lately.
there is a request from Zoom to repeat the question, so you're making a statement, and that's very interesting, that the government was doing that, but they stopped.
Well, yes and no. The government still has contracts. They still have systems in place for affirmative action and so on and so forth. I was being a little flippant just now. What I mean to say is that in the last, what is it, since Trump was president? In the last whatever, fairly recently, I mean, this is a military headed by a guy who wants to get transgender people out of the military. The culture is there. The culture is there, but it's all about leadership.
I would just like to thank both of you gentlemen for sharing your experiences through life with us, as well as the way the younger generations are using the word that I would have never said.
The N-word?
In Oklahoma,
Using the N-word?
As a child. Never, ever, ever.
Yeah.
My kids say it with the A, and they're like, oh, it's totally different, Mom. And I'm like, no. So I appreciate what you brought to us tonight with that, and what you were experiencing with the white boys on the basketball court. That meant a lot to me, because I hound my kids about saying that, even if it is with the
Talking
hurricane.
about
It's still the same to me.
the
It's
N-word.
still the same.
Yes.
And how it's
Still
used.
the same. Because if I walk down any street in Oklahoma and set up with a hard A or an ER, I get my ass beat.
Yeah.
And I appreciate you gentlemen sharing that story.
Yes. They're real.
Herb.
I have two questions.
Yeah.
Very different. from
Two
each
questions.
other. First, Lake County is still a pretty white place. I wonder if you guys experience any racism here.
I gotta say something about that.
So the thing is, the statement is Lake County is a pretty white place. Do either of us experience racism?
Subtle or
Go for
otherwise.
it. Subtle or otherwise.
Yeah. Well, I gotta say this first. I don't know if it really pertains to your question, but it does. As a Santa Rosa boy, going to East Oakland and seeing the Hard Brothers is kind of like scary for me, you know, because they, like on the streets and they're crackheads or whatever, and you kind of, even as a black person, I go click on I lock my door, right? However, going through Clear Lake, the white people I see out there in front of safety and all that stuff, I'm going, click. But anyway. Hey, so at that part, it's kind of different for me because it's not all of Lake County, of course. You got places like, what's that place start with the B, upper crust up there, and Buckingham. Yeah. So you have all kinds, but there's areas here. I know there's like there's biker clubs and stuff like that. But in reality, Lake County, no. As the most of it, none. It's really cool, and I thought it would be.
Well, I have to disagree with you a little bit. I was telling Carol about how, my wife Carol, about how I drove into Ukiah on Wednesday, and I was behind a pickup truck, and there was a Confederate flag on the back window, right? And I drove all the way into Ukiah with this scene. There have been times when I've walked down my where I've been walking, and gets kind of dicey sometimes. one thing we probably agree to is that we can't take this skin off.
Oh, no.
And you can never know how people are going to react. In Lake County, for the most part, I haven't had any real problems. I'm still here. But I can say that some of the worst racial experiences I've ever had in my life were here in California. Have you had another question?
Yeah, my other question is totally different. So I'm a musician, I'm a percussionist too. It's really hard for me sometimes to just be in the audience and not be playing. And I'm wondering if that comes up for you. Can you guys listen to music and not feel like I want to be up there playing?
Herb is a musician, and he's saying that he has a hard time being in the presence of instruments and musicians and not wanting to play. Do we have that experience too?
I always want to play. And the thing about it, when not playing, I'm either learning or critiquing.
Okay, now it's my turn.
Yeah, okay.
Okay? So as an artist, and I'm a visual artist, I have a similar experience in that, like, it's not so much about always critiquing, but it's more about participating.
As an artist, she
You
wants
know,
to
as an artist, it's
participate
like, I
as
want to
well.
participate, and it's like, what is the difference for us in terms of being others? And I'm an other too, in my own way.
Yeah.
In terms of being others and
Others.
being both included and participating in the experience, whether it's art, as we have here at the Middletown Art Center, visual arts, or music, which we also have here, because here we are, you know? And so how do we like encourage inclusion of like everybody?
How do we encourage inclusion of everyone in art, in all forms of arts? Go.
Oh, no. Okay. As a musician who plays in many different types of groups, and I'm speaking especially like for the symphony, inclusion is very important because what's happening is that not that many people are doing like they used to be. The schools don't have like people flooding the band rooms like they used to be. So it is so important to get people to do art, and especially young people, because if art, whether it be music or drawing, and if your heart is so full of it, you want to see it continue on past your days. Okay? To see it dwindle is such a disheartening.
Yeah.
So
Hurts.
yes. And so you're always going, come on, don't you want to play this? Don't you want to draw this? You want to do this? Don't you like this? You know? So you're trying to get people included so the love can keep going.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yes.
So art and war don't usually ride in the same car.
So art and war don't usually ride in the same car.
How did music in the military help you bridge racial inequality, and how did you bring it home?
How did music in the military bridge the, what was that? How did art music in the military bridge racial inequality?
And how were you able to bring that back into the civilian world?
And how are you able to bring that back into the civilian world?
I'm sure you guys have heard of like the hardcore soldiers, like the Rangers, the Green Berets, the people jump out of airplane, airborne Rangers. Then you have the band.
The artists?
The artists. We were our own special breed. That
Yeah. Oh, can everybody like clap for the artist, please?
So that's how we maintain. We're band together, not a pun. Well, kind of. we band together. And when I was in Korea,
Oh, yes, I want to hear about Korea.
I did not want to go. I was in Washington. What's the name of that? Fort Lewis, Washington. And I was close to home. It took me 14 hours to drive back home to Santa Rosa. And after 7 years of trying to hide and not me, they said, oh yeah, you're going. But why Korea? But anyway, they had the Olympics in Korea in '88. And I went there in '89. And there was still a lot of that energy left over. And I do music in the military and during the day, and I go play at the High Regency at night. Oh. And they loved American music. And mainly what I was doing was Dixieland.
Really?
Yeah. And it was like, here's my Dixieland, because they were paying and I was playing. But then they had a place they called All That Jazz. It was kind of nice too. So that really, it was really good. I mean, I didn't get much sleep. It was either military, then I go play. It was just, and then I go play, because, here I am, a young soldier in a different world, being a soldier and a musician, we had lots of fun. I lost so much weight in Korea. Being poor, there was no time to sleep. There was too much time for fun.
Victor, this is a weird question.
This is a weird question.
Okay, everybody, I am Israeli, and so I grew up in a military world.
Oh.
So I want to know, how did you end up being a musician in the military? What is that about?
How did you end up being a musician in the military? What's that about?
All right, here it is. When I was at that age, I was a little bit of a rascal, okay, a thug, and the guy came to my door because of my age, and he's like selling. He was a recruiter selling military, and I was like, how dare you come with me? I'm hard.
You're a hard ass.
I was being a hard ass, and I was mocking them and stuff. I said, well, what am I gonna do in the military? Play music? I had no clue they had a band. I had no clue. And he said, yeah, sure. I said, no, really? Yeah, sure. You go to San Francisco, 6th Army was there at that time. You take an audition, and then you pass basic training. Then you go to the music school. I quit being a hard ass. I said, okay, I'm interested. Can you tell me some more? So at that time, I mean, it was tough getting in. I didn't have that high of a score, but I passed. I went to basic. I tell you, that military music institution is military. You eat, sleep, music, and military till it's time, to pass out, and you're tired. And when you practice, I mean, after I don't know if you've ever been in a school where you did music. You had ear training, conducting, playing all kinds of groups like concert band, stage band, then rock band, and then music composition. Then that's the end of the day. You go eat your dinner. Then you go back to the music room, back to the music school, and they had you in a small cubicle with a little window in the door this big. In that window, you put your student number in. Somebody comes and count how many hours you practiced after school. So it was hardcore, even as a musician.
Kind of cool though.
Oh God, I loved it.
Any other comments or questions about what we've talked about, or?
Oh, very
Yeah.
good.
Yeah, Mary.
It's not a question. So I've been trying to concentrate on everything else you've been saying, since you've said that you didn't experience as much racism in Lake County as in other places. And my mind went two different directions. When I was in Milwaukee, Wisconsin, I was doing multicultural work with this lady. Her name was also Mary, and we were doing work in a white church that wanted to increase they were in the inner city of Milwaukee, and they wanted to increase their African American enrollment in their congregation. And she was doing great, and then all of a sudden they were like, whoa, that's too many. And she said it's about 12%.
Whoa.
That's one thing.
Wow.
The second thing is the racism is directed at other folks in this county. If you talk to Millie Simon, she's got a lot of stories when she comes and talks to us.
Now, Millie Simon is indigenous, by the way.
Yes.
Yes.
If you talk to my best friend Rose, she'll tell you that. If you talk to some of our students who are immigrants at the college, it's different. There's a lot of racism directed towards them. It's an othering. And I just think that you both were, well, you told stories, but I think you both were just lucky, because I think there are other folks in the county have experienced it differently, and I don't want us patting ourselves on the back, is what I'm trying to say. I was like, we have a long way to go.
I want to say something like that.
Yeah.
If you're like watching TV and all, just the media, I see, even though I look, I think it was African American, it's like 11% or something like that, a very small percentage. But if you're actually watching TV, you would think it was much more. Because you see black people on TV all the time. It's almost like they have to have a quota or something. And sports, come on, you see football, basketball, and everything. And people, all the white people are choosing a team, and it's just like it's a cool thing. That's like I was talking about the guys on the basketball court. I mean, in order to be hip, you embrace some of the black culture. And all those other cultures is not being as out there as much as the other ones. Like when you're watching TV, not only just the sports, the shows, especially kids shows. And it's like, that's the way to show that you're integrated. But they need to show a little bit more. There's more than just black people, because there's other races out there. Like you said, indigenous. Sometimes they become invisible, because sometimes you can't, the others, and there's many others.
Did you have a question or something?
Growing up, as a white girl, I was in the Bay Area, and I grew up in Richmond.
Growing up as a white girl in Richmond.
Right, as a youngster. Okay, and then, so we were pretty mixed. I mean, there's Portuguese, Spanish, black, white, everything.
She lived in a mixed
So I always thought it was
community.
normal for me.
She thought it was normal.
Right, just normal. But then when they did integration from North Richmond, they bring it up to the schools.
Integration
And I
from
was in
North
first grade.
Richmond.
They were gonna integrate the schools more to make it more even. And I was excited about that, because I was excited.
She was excited at the integration.
But my mother's from Missouri, my father's from California, so the little black girl, that sat behind me was pulling my hair, spitting my hair, stuff like that, because I was real shy. I think it was just because I was shy, this girl wasn't.
She experienced.
But my mom put it as a black, white thing. And took me out of the school and everything, made it a big deal. We moved up here to Lake
Parents
County, right, where
took her out of school.
right. And then we moved to Missouri, where my mother's from, in a very small town on the Mississippi River. So I'm just sharing a little bit of my experiences of being confused about.
She was confused about
So in Missouri, it was
the politics.
Across the railroad tracks, like you said.
Yeah.
She said that, I'd never heard that before, but I remember. No, they lived across the railroad tracks. My dad was a fisherman though, so we would go across the railroad tracks quite a bit, and we'd go fishing. Stop at the little grocery store, and I remember this elderly black lady that stood in this rocking chair. She could see the whole store, and she would watch me and my brothers like we're gonna steal stuff. We thought it was kind of funny, you know. And then I moved back to California, Richmond, and I went to Contra Costa College.
She went to Missouri and then moved back to California.
My assignments were writing about, Black history in my different classes. So it was, I don't know. I guess what I'm saying is Black history. I'm here because I wanted to hear you guys' stories and your music, and I'm so appreciative of hearing your stories of you growing up in Santa Rosa and you growing up. And I mean, for me, it was like I was pretty confused.
She talks about the confusion that she felt. It's pretty normal.
Yeah, that's pretty normal. It goes both ways.
Yes.
It goes both ways, especially if you're in the hood. Yeah. That's what we call it, the hood. And that's just like their territory. Me being from Santa Rosa, living in white Santa Rosa, I felt uncomfortable in the hood because it wasn't where I'm from. It reminds me of a story about being where you're from. I was at a bus stop and I was waiting on the bus. This black guy came standing next to me, and I was trying to talk to him. He wouldn't talk to me at all. And then this white guy came, and we were chatting it up. This Mexican guy came, and the black guy the Mexican guy was speaking Spanish. And that was like an eye-opener for me. Black guy, he's speaking Spanish. He's speaking it to the Mexican, And sometimes it's not about skin. It's about where you're from,
But being in Dynasty, it was like integration, it was all cool for me and everything, and then moved to Missouri, it was like, oh no, it's mostly all white people, and then coming back. But I remember coming back, and there was a black girl, I was so interested, she was down in Richmond, she had a youth home for her mother. She was my age, like 19, had a youth home for the foster kids and just kids that got in trouble. I was so intrigued by that, and she took me down and showed it to me and everything, and then I started selling real estate, and I would be selling real estate down on 3rd Street and 2nd Street and stuff, and I went to the blues club over there. I was never like afraid or something, but then I never felt like, oh, I could have a black boyfriend. It's like a confusion.
I want to translate as much as I can and then make a comment. But what is your name? Lily. Lily's talking about confusion about, I guess in some ways, racial identities and racial roles and ethnicity and so on, that we can have this in this luminal space, a lot of confusion about where people are from a sort of a racial perspective, cultural and ethnic. And I think that the confusion is real. And as a matter of fact, I know in my own life, I experienced something very much similar to to what Victor did. As an Air Force kid, I lived in that, quote, integrated bubble, and I would go and visit my cousins in Mobile, Alabama, and it was a different world. It was a different world. And I'll tell you, I'd go to the South and feel very, very uncomfortable because there were so many black folk there. And I'm not used to it. Not used to it at all. Yeah.
Experience the same fears.
Exactly.
So-
It's normal.
So I want to ask a question. I think I'm close enough to Clovice's microphone to ask this question. Both of Zoom folks and also the people in Zoom, how many of you feel like you are an other for any reason whatsoever? Please raise your hand. An other of any kind. Sure, I can't believe you're raising your hand. So you need to raise your hand. Okay? All right, so.
Clear definition of
Yeah.
Very true.
Oh, if you feel like you're another,
If you feel like you're an other.
or have been
please raise your
othered.
hand.
We need
Or
a
have been
clearer
othered
definition of
historically.
other.
I'm adopted.
Yeah.
That's an other as well. That is a place where we, as other as we are, we unify in that we have the experience of being an other. Okay? And I could go around the room and I could ask you each, like, why do you feel like you're an other? Because some of you are white and some of you are not. Like, I'm white, I'm Jewish, I'm an other. For goodness sakes, it's like historically, my history is like, oh my friggin' God, I don't even want to be a part of it, to be honest with you. You know, and I know you, Herb, are sitting right across from me here, you have the exact same experience. I don't know if you feel the same way, you know? Yeah, so, and then at the same time, I look at my colleagues here, and I go like, my heart hurts and feels for you so deeply for the experience of being an other. And I can look at an Asian person and an indigenous person, whether they be indigenous from this area, of which there are so many, or you know, the people who have always been here, or indigenous of more southern from here, i.e. Mexico, and more south from here. And it's like, I am different from you, my culture, my heritage is different from yours, and yet I have the experience of being an other of you to the exact or different, and different is exact, actually, in my opinion. You know, it's like we are all so different, and the experience of being an other, and I know that Jewish women across the United States are checking the box other, because there is no place for us to put Jewish. And I can tell you that, like, our heritage is like completely, whoa. You know, it's awful.
And also white, like, I'm not white.
Are you? Exactly.
There-
Exactly. So many of us are mixed, exactly. And that's like what this is about, because in the end, we're all human beings. And like what we see in each other is the fact that we have arteries.
I want to make a comment.
And you can say whatever you want.
We have a myth of being in a melting pot. That myth is just a myth. It has made us feel very comfortable over time. Now we have another myth, and the myth is we live in a colorblind society. And it is probably more damaging and dangerous than anything else that we've faced as a nation. Because what it does is it says your history, your background is not something to be honored. It's not something to be understood. So now we're at this place, well, because we had a black president, because of Colin Powell, we're now post-race. And we're not. We never have been, and probably never will be. And when you combine that with this other phenomena that happens, where we've all had this idea that we were racing towards the day when everyone is going to be judged by the content of their character, not by the color of their skin. And there are people in this country who have been saying, keep believing that, because we lost the race. Fact is, we never got there. And we're still thinking that we're going towards it. There are people in this country who know better because they've been blowing up the racetrack. Okay? So we're in a place where we can talk about othering, we can talk about race relations and so on, but until we actually have these conversations, we are in trouble.
Right, we need to communicate.
We're in trouble. And so part of the reason why we're here, part of the reason why we're doing this Sounds of Liberation is because we want to talk about art, we want to talk about race, we want to talk about all of these things and have these open conversations for people in our community.
Right.
So,
Thank you very much.
thank you.
Yes, and the time, in fact, is 9 p.m.
Oh, it
And
is.
we are
Oh, okay.
so grateful that all of you have shown up to be a part of this conversation and to add your views and your questions to our conversation, because we are so much more colorful
Yeah. I love that.
together, you know? And with that, oh, you
So
have
how do we-
Well, I was
question.
gonna ask Victor, do
The
they
question to
serve
Victor.
drum circles on full moons? or-
Question about the drum circles.
Yes.
being
Well,
on
I'm
full moons
going
being
to,
open.
that's a good thing. I'm going to share something with you. I'm telling I invite everybody to go to musicvillageretreat.com, and you will get information on drum circles, music, very Afrocentric. And I was saying, Clovice, I was saying at first, do you think it was okay to have a Afrocentric place here in Lake County? Then I was thinking about it. I said, I go to Mexican restaurants all the time. Yeah.
But wait a second, okay? Because this is a great time. It's almost 9 o'clock, but it's a great time to talk about the fact that you've got a Mardi Gras thing happening next
Mardi
week.
Gras.
Music Village, right?
Music. Oh, let me make sure I do that right.
Okay, one thing and then the next.
Okay. Musicvillageretreat.com.
Musicvillageretreat.com. And then next weekend, there's a Mardi Gras.
Next Saturday, next Saturday, not tomorrow, but next Saturday, we have a Mardi Gras at the American Legion Hall. And around 3 o'clock, we're going to do a Mardi Gras parade from the Austin Park to the American Legion Hall, which is also on Austin Road. And then we're going to have live music. I'll be performing with the band. We're playing music. It's a benefit for the Children's Museum of Art and Science. That's where I teach, Children's Museum of Art and Science. And we're going to have all kinds of food, games, auctions, and music.
Okay, and he teaches here as well.
I teach
And
it.
I want to add to that while we're promoting that from 4 to 6 p.m., the Middletown Art Center is offering a traditional ecological knowledge and fire management panel on Zoom only. And because we live in a fire impacted region, I encourage you all to attend that as well. So do both. Spend the afternoon doing stuff that's good for you.
Yes. So, I don't know of any graceful way to say that we're done. But we're done. And thank you for being with us. And Victor.
Thank you, Victor.
Thank you guys all for coming here. It was beautiful, thank you.